Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Hope you can hear me. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tatho Jayamudirayet Nashta Prayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yatkripatamaham Vande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Hare Krishna. We are continuing with our discussion on the 108 important slokas of the Bhagavad Gita. In that connection, today we will be reading 2 or 3 slokas from the second chapter, starting with the 20th sloka of the second chapter, which reads like this. Na jayate mriyate va kadachil nayam bhutva bhavita va na bhuyaha ajo nitya shashvatoyam purano na hanyate hanyamane sharire. This is a shloka that speaks about the eternality of the soul. Translation. For the soul, there is neither birth nor death at any time. He has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. He is unborn, eternal, ever-existing and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Qualitatively, the small atomic fragmental part of the Supreme Spirit is one with the Supreme. He undergoes no changes like the body. Sometimes the soul is called steady or kutastha. The body is subject to 6 kinds of transformations. It takes its birth from the womb of the mother's body, remains for some time, grows, produces some effects, gradually dwindles, and at last vanishes into oblivion. The soul, however, does not go through such changes. The soul is not born, but because it takes on a material body, the body takes its birth. The soul does not take birth there, and the soul does not die. Anything which has birth also has death. And because the soul has no birth, he therefore has no past, present, or future. He is eternal, ever-existing, and primeval. That is, there is no trace and history of his coming into being. Under the impression of the body, we seek the history of birth, etc. of the soul. The soul does not at any time become old as the body does. The so-called old man therefore feels himself to be in the same spirit as in his childhood or youth. The changes of the body do not affect the soul. The soul does not deteriorate like a tree, not anything material. The soul has no byproduct either. The byproducts of the body, namely children, are also different individual souls. And owing to the body, they appear as children of a particular man. The body develops because of the soul's presence, but the soul has neither offshoots nor change. Therefore, the soul is free from the 6 changes of the body. In the Katha Upanishad, we also find a similar passage which reads, Na jayate mriyate va vipaschin, nayam kutaschin, na babuva kaschid, ajo nitya shashvato ayam purano, na hanyate hanyamane sharire. The meaning and the purport of this verse is same as in the Bhagavad Gita, but here in this verse, one special word, vipaschit, which means learned or with knowledge. The soul is full of knowledge or full always with consciousness. Therefore, consciousness is a symptom of the soul. Even if one does not find the soul within the heart where it is situated, one can still understand the presence of the soul simply by the presence of consciousness. Sometimes we do not find the sun in the sky owing to clouds or for some other reason, but the light of the sun is always there, and we are convinced that it is there for daytime. As soon as there is a little light in the sky early in the morning, we can understand that the sun is in the sky. Similarly, since there is some consciousness in all bodies, whether man or animal, we can understand the presence of the soul. This consciousness of the soul is, however, different from the consciousness of the Supreme, because the Supreme consciousness is all knowledge, past, present, and future. The consciousness of the individual soul is prone to be forgetful. When he is forgetful of his real nature, he obtains education, enlightenment from the superior lessons of Krishna. But Krishna is not like the forgetful soul. If so, Krishna's teachings of Bhagavad Gita would be useless. There are two kinds of souls, namely the minute particle soul, Anu Atma, and the super soul, Vibhu Atma. This is also confirmed in the Kathopanishad in this way. Anoraniyan Mahato Mahiyan Atmasya Janto Nihito Guhayam Tamakratu Pashyati Vita Shoko Dhatu Prasadan Mahimanam Atmanaha. Both the super soul, Paramatma, and the atomic soul, Jivatma, are situated on the same tree of the body within the same heart of the living being. And only one who has become free from all material desires as well as lamentations can, by the grace of the Supreme, understand the glories of the soul. Krishna is a fountainhead of the super soul also, as it will be disclosed in the following chapters, and Arjuna is the atomic soul, forgetful of his real nature. Therefore, he requires to be enlightened by Krishna or by his bona fide representative, the spiritual master. Om Tat Sat. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pankum Langhayate Girim Yatkripa Tamaham Mande Sri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So, Krishna in this section from the 20th shloka onwards is clearly delineating the eternality of the soul. That is, previously what we saw was that Krishna said that everybody is existing all the time. And then Krishna also spoke about how, the soul is traveling through various bodies and one actually need not worry too much about it because it is something that happens, as the soul travels. So does these things go on and one should not worry too much about it. This is what Krishna has been saying. Now, beginning from text 20, we are seeing that Krishna now speaks about how the soul is eternal, And not only that, Krishna is quoting a shloka that is also actually found in Upanishad directly. So, Prabhupada quotes that shloka in the purport, just so that we can match that how Gita also at a certain level is an Upanishad, because the same information we find in Upanishad, we find Krishna speaking to Arjuna. And what are the important things that Krishna is speaking in this shloka? Krishna says, for the soul, there is neither birth nor death. So, eternality is being defined by Krishna as a state where there is neither birth nor death. So here again, Krishna is trying to give us the clear understanding that birth and death, or this beginning and end, is not applicable for the eternal soul. Beginning and death is only applicable for the body because the body is material. And Krishna continues to develop on that point by saying that he has not come into being, does not come into being, and will not come into being. That means you can never trace the history of the beginning of the soul. Just as we cannot trace the beginning of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Same way, one cannot trace the beginning of the soul. Because The soul has no beginning. He is not coming into being. He has not come into being. He will not come into being. That means this temporary existence of, something came into being yesterday, it is there today, it may not be there tomorrow, the day after tomorrow it will come into being again. That is actually not applicable to the soul at all. And again, Krishna is reiterating the point, saying that he is unborn, eternal, ever-existing, primeval. So various different terminologies are used by Krishna in this particular verse because he wants to impress upon Arjuna. He wants to give a very strong emphasis about the eternal nature of the soul. That is why he is using, we may think that why should Krishna repeat this information, or why should Krishna develop on this point, so much? Is it not? When you say eternal, and then you further develop it saying no birth, no death. Then you further say unborn. Already there is neither birth nor death is already there. But again saying unborn, and again saying eternal, ever existing. You see? Najayate Mariate, there is no death, does not come into being. Vakata jinnayam bhutva bhavita vana bhuyaha aja nitya shashwata ayam purana and na hanyate hanyamane sharire. When the body is annihilated, nothing happens to the soul. So, in the purport, Prabhupada further develops on this point. Prabhupada goes on to explain about the 6 changes that happens to the body. And that happens only to the body. That change is not happening to the soul. That is why the soul is called Kutastha. Means soul does not undergo the 6 changes. And the body undergoes 6 changes like birth, growth, sustenance, byproducts, dwindling, and death. So 6 things that this body undergoes, and that is visible in every living body. Every material body that you see, you will be easily able to identify these 6 changes. And what are these 6 changes? Again, birth, growth, sustaining, creating byproduct, dwindling, and dying. And this is not happening to the soul. And Prabhupada gives the example that an old man saying that in spirit I am a young man. And this is something we hear so frequently from people, that the age is only in your whatever, they will always say. Why is that? It is because the soul is not getting any old. Soul does not get older. Only the body is getting older. And those people who are not able to see these 2 things differently, they are the ones who get frustrated. They are the ones who become very, very worried when the body, some changes happen, when the body slows down. Because of the lack of this understanding, they are unable to accept it. And they try all artificial methods. They will try every way possible to bring the body back to, how it was and things like that. But inside, I don't feel, you see, I don't feel any age difference in me because I have not aged. So Prabhupada gives that example also. And Prabhupada also gives how we can perceive the soul in the body. While giving the quotation from Katha Upanishad, Prabhupada writes there that the soul is having full of consciousness. Consciousness means chit. Chit also means knowledge. So the soul is vipaschit. Katha Upanishad says vipaschit. So that means full of knowledge. And knowledge is represented by consciousness, and consciousness is the symptom of the existence of the body. Of the soul. And it may not be so visible in all the bodies. Just like some days when there is too much of cloud, the sun will be not fully visible. But when you know that sunrise breaks, you will know that even there is some little light, then you know that sun is there, but he is covered by clouds. So similarly, in some bodies, you may not see the consciousness, so explicitly or so clearly, and those bodies are like this. There is consciousness, but it is not so distinctly visible. You can't distinctly make out. So, but we can understand that it is conscious. Maybe not as conscious as another living entity. That's all. And then again, Prabhupada continues to give a reference from Kathopanishad in the purport and speaks about the two kinds of soul, who is, both are in the body, within the body. And that is the Anu Atma and the Vibhu Atma. Anu Atma means very finite. Rather, Prabhupada says infinitesimal. That means so small, very small. That is Anu Atma. And then there is Vibhu Atma, or the infinite, or the greatest, or one whose greatness cannot be measured, cannot be fathomed. Vibhu means basically a one-word definition of Vibhu is great. So the Vibhu Atma, who is infinite, and the Anu Atma, who is infinitesimal. And what is the difference in consciousness between these two Atmas? The difference is that Vibhu Atma, he knows past, present, and future. Vibhu Atma knows past, present, future. Anu Atma is forgetful in nature. That is why Anu Atma forgets all what has happened previously. Anu Atma also forgets when he is conditioned, he also forgets Krishna. So forgetfulness is only with Anu Atma. Forgetfulness never comes for Vibhu Atma, or the super soul, or the supreme soul. And then this can be related with Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna here is representing the Anu Atma, and Krishna is Vibhu Atma. Krishna is actually the source of Brahman and Paramatma. So Krishna is even greater than the Vibhu Atma, we can say. And Arjuna has forgotten. That is why he is standing in this position. That is why he is having this doubt. That is why he is having to ask these questions. Because he has forgotten. He has forgotten his position, his constitutional position. Arjuna has forgotten what he is supposed to do. So now Arjuna is questioning Krishna because he needs enlightenment. And who can understand again the glories of the soul? This also Prabhupada is referring to Kathopanishad, and Prabhupada is saying that only when one is free from all material desires and lamentations, only when you are free from material desires and lamentations, and by the grace of the Supreme. So we have to first become free from this material desire and the lamentations caused by material desire, And then we also need the grace of the Supreme Lord. So these two things, when they combine together, we will be able to understand this whole Atma, the science of the Atma, So this is how Prabhupada is quoting from Kathopanishad, just to teach us that how this same thing is quoted in the Upanishad also. And then in text 22, when we look at it, text 20 and text 21 is where Krishna is asking Arjuna, Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, eternal, unborn, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? So he has made his point, and then he goes on to develop on that point in the 22nd sloka of this chapter, which is Vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati navo parani tatha sharirani vihaya jirnanyanyani samyati navani dehi. This is another very wonderful verse that speaks about the soul, Atma. As a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new material bodies, giving up old and useless ones. So, in a very simple sentence or shloka, Krishna is explained the what can we say, the deepest philosophy, about the soul changing bodies. And such a wonderful example also given by Krishna. So we don't have to go looking anywhere to find a simile, to find an example as to, how do I, understand this. So Krishna himself says that as a person puts on new garments, giving up old ones, the soul similarly accepts new bodies, giving up old and useless ones. Srila Prabhupada says, change of body by the atomic individual soul is an accepted fact. Even modern scientists who do not believe in the existence of the soul, but at the same time cannot explain the source of energy from the heart, have to accept continuous changes of body which appear from childhood to boyhood, and from boyhood to youth, and again from youth to old age. From old age, the change is transferred to another body. This has already been explained in a previous verse. Transference of the atomic individual soul to another body is made possible by the grace of the super soul. The super soul fulfills the desire of the atomic soul as one friend fulfills the desire of another. The Vedas, like the Mundaka Upanishad as well as the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, compare the soul and the super soul to two friendly birds sitting on the same tree. One of the birds is eating the fruit of the tree. The other bird is simply watching his friend. Of these two birds, although they are same in quality, one is captivated by the fruits, while the other is simply witnessing the activities of his friend. Krishna is the witnessing bird, Arjuna is the eating bird. Although they are friends, one is the master and the other is the servant. Forgetfulness of this relationship by the atomic soul is the cause of one's changing his position from one tree to another or from one body to another. The Jiva soul is struggling very hard on the tree of the material body. But as soon as he agrees to accept the other bird as a supreme spiritual master, as Arjuna agreed to do by voluntary surrender to Krishna for instruction, the subordinate bird immediately becomes free from lamentations. Both Mundaka Upanishad and Shvetashvatara Upanishad confirm this. Although the two birds are in the same tree, the eating bird is fully engrossed with anxiety and moroseness as the enjoyer of the fruits of the tree. But if in some way or the other, he turns his face to his friend who is the Lord and knows his glories, at once the suffering bird becomes free from all anxieties. Arjuna has now turned his face towards his eternal friend Krishna and is understanding the Bhagavad Gita from him. And thus, hearing from Krishna, he can understand the supreme glories of the Lord and be free from lamentation. Arjuna is advised herewith by the Lord not to lament for the bodily change of his old grandfather and his teacher. He should rather be happy to kill their bodies in a righteous fight so that they may be cleansed at once of all reactions from various bodily activities. One who lays down his life on the sacrificial altar or in the proper battlefield is at once cleansed of bodily reactions and promoted to a higher status of life. So there was no cause for Arjuna's lamentation. So there is a question here. The question is, immortal, soul is immortal, correct? This is established by Krishna. That soul is eternal is established by Krishna. So can we use that point that soul is eternal? Can we use that point to say that violence is okay? You understand? Soul is eternal. We all agree. So, no, because this is, we must keep in context what is happening here. Arjuna is on the battlefield and Krishna is telling him soul is eternal, body vasamsi jirnani yatha vihaya navani grihnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnani anyati samyati navani dehi. So body becomes old, we change it. The body becomes invalid, we can change it. Body, when you actually look at it, when you actually look at the body, sometimes you may have this question that, okay, not that everybody whose body is very old only they are dying. No. Some people whose body is young also they are dying. Some people are dying in accidents. Some people sort of try and, they destroy their own bodies. Right? So it is not that the body becomes old and then it is given up all the time. It is not happening like that. Agreed. But the important point is that body actually becomes unfit for the soul to stay. You see? So when there is a very grave disease, because body is, as we understand in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, body is yantra rudhani mayaya. It is actually like a machine. Not like a machine, it's actually a machine. So if the important critical parts of that machine is destroyed by any reason, then that body actually becomes unfit for the soul to operate from within. So he has to leave that body. Okay, so that one question is answered. It is not only that Jirnani. Jirnani does not only happen because of the number of years we spend in that body. Because we may also give this question, that there are some people who are 70 years old, they are very fit. The point is, Jirnani will happen. Okay, Jirnani will happen, but just because Jirnani will happen and you have to quit the body, does that mean that you can kill? So the answer is, we cannot use violence as a criteria without being authorized. Without we are getting authorization from the proper authority, we cannot kill or we cannot destroy anybody. And that actually we understand even with the material world, in the laws, we understand that, you simply cannot go and kill somebody saying that, actually I am not killing you because you are eternal. Only your body I am finishing you. No court will accept that argument. But when the same thing is done by a military man in a war, when he is authorized by his superiors, then that becomes accepted. Similarly here, Arjuna is going to engage in this war because he gets the authorization from Krishna. Okay. So that use of violence is not condoned in the Bhagavad Gita. Just because he told Arjuna stand up and fight in many places, it's not that, it is a mindless violence. No, not at all. And who will actually decide this? The decision maker should be a person of authority. And when it is a something that is related to dharma, we should know that the Supreme Lord is the authority. Just as in the military operation, the head of the state is the authority. Even the top military commander is not the authority. It is actually the head of the state. Or in Vedic parlance, when we say the king, he takes the actual responsibility for that decision. So based on an authorized decision only, it can be done. Just like you can use a knife to cut somebody, and you can use a knife to poke somebody, and you will be caught by police and put in jail. But the same thing when it is done by a surgeon inside an operation theater, he's paid for it. He is not only paid for it, he will cut open somebody's body and save his life, and he will also be glorified by people. So cutting is the same thing. But then if you cut simply for violence without authorization, that is not allowed. Okay. So when justice has to be dispensed, at times, king becomes necessary. And that already in the first chapter, Prabhupada discusses the purport, how somebody can be punished by death sentence, somebody who steals another man's wife, somebody who is setting fire to another man's property, somebody who is stealing, wealth. So these kind of people, you can actually use violence, but not otherwise. Okay. And then Krishna is now reminding Arjuna here that Bhishma, Drona, all these people, their bodies have become old. They have to give it up sooner rather than later. Okay, this is specific impetus for Arjuna, because his worry is Bhishma, and his worry primarily is Bhishma and Drona. Those who are worshipable by me, how do I kill them in battle? That is Arjuna's biggest conundrum that he's facing. And Krishna is telling, he is giving that assurance to Arjuna, don't worry. Don't worry. Those people, anyway, they have to give up their body. So you are actually helping them on the way, that's all. So that is some, solace that Krishna is providing Arjuna. And then in this verse, he says about, how the body gets changed, because whenever a body becomes unfit for the soul to operate from, soul has to change that body. And that could be, as I said earlier, that could be due to any kind of different reasons. And Prabhupada in the purport, Prabhupada also mentions that the scientist may not believe or agree to the existence of the soul, but the scientist will have to agree that body changes. That the body changes. No scientist will say, a 5-year-old body and a 50-year-old body is the same. Because simply even by visual perception, one is able to understand. You don't have to put it under a microscope or, observe it in a laboratory or nothing. You simply see a child grow up, you know that body is changing. You don't even have to look at a child. You simply can look at your own self in the mirror and you know how your body is changed. So change of body, whether you are a scientist, whether you are atheist, whether you are theist, whether you are Vaishnava, Shaiva, Shakta, whether you are, Chandala, Yavana, whatever it is, everybody has to accept, because it is pratyaksha. You don't have to go any, special university to understand that. And also, Prabhupada says that scientists are accepting that the heart is where this whole thing, the energy to run this body, that is actually happening through this pumping of the heart. So they agree to that. The scientist is agreeing to the fact that this heart is pumping all the energy. You know, that is true that, that oxygen is, if you study biology, or if there is any doctor in this satsang, you would very easily know. And you are probably better off than me in explaining these things. But basically, we understand that it is a heart that pumps, oxygenated blood to all over your body. And actually, when it starts malfunctioning, then it will pump some other kind of, blood into your body, and then your whole body will go into some kind of toxic something and all those things. So that also the scientist is agreeing. And Shastra says that the Atma is present in the region of the heart. Atma is also present in that region of the heart. So there is quite close, what you call, similarity to the understanding of the theist and the scientist. He will agree to that energy part. He will simply refuse to agree to the energetic part. He will say that energy is coming. So when you simply tell him the energy will have to have a source, that is what we call energetic, and that energetic source we say is the soul. And then he'll say, no, I cannot see it and all that. So that doesn't matter for us. But we understand that this heart is what is giving energy to the body. And that is actually happening because the soul is there. The Atma is there. And then Prabhupada continues to speak in the purport about how the atomic soul is moving from one body to the other. How it is being arranged, how it becomes possible. Again, Prabhupada says that the first reason for the soul to be able to change body is by the grace of the Paramatma. So everywhere we will understand that the Supreme Lord is the ultimate cause. And in some cases, he will also be the Pratyaksha cause, Pratyaksha Karana. In some cases, but in most cases, Lord is always the remote cause, as we call it. His ultimate cause is him. That is why Brahmaji says in Brahma Samhita, Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the reason for all reasons. So he is the reason behind all the reasons. So anything that is happening, ultimately Krishna's responsibility. That is why he is Bhagavan. It is not that I will simply sit as Bhagavan and don't do anything. No. When we glorify Krishna as Bhagavan, when we glorify Krishna as Paramatma, we understand that everything that we see prakat, manifest, and everything that is aprakat, unmanifest, everything is being run by Krishna as the remote cause. And he simply presses a remote of Yogamaya or Mahamaya, as the case may be, and then everything happens. So this is how this whole thing is happening. And for the Anuatma to transmigrate from one body to the other is also made possible by the grace of the Super Soul. And then what else is there governing the transfer of soul from one body to the other? The desires of that Atma and the deeds of that Atma. Two things: desire and deed. That means what we do is a factor in deciding what kind of body we will move from this body to. One more thing is that what you desire. So these two things go together. That is, you cannot do the deeds of a pig and then desire to become Indra. You understand? My desire is that next Janma I want to be Indra, I want to be drinking Somaras, and I want to be enjoying life, in the Nandavana gardens of Indra, like that. But in this Janma, I behave like a pig. So there is incompatibility. So Prabhupada says, in order to desire, you should deserve first. That is, you must also have a very clear understanding that what is it that I deserve for what I do, and what is it that I am desiring. It is like I don't attend to any class in my school properly, or I don't write my homework, I don't write my notes, I don't listen properly in class, but I desire to get first rank in class. Do you deserve first rank? No, but you simply desire. So simply desiring alone is not the factor. We must understand. We must also deserve. So Prakriti actually arranges taking these two combinations into consideration. That what you do and what you desire. So like a friend, it is said that the super soul, Paramatma, takes care of the desire, and based on the desire and the deeds, he will allocate. Not that he directly allocates, that he is the super cause, cause of cause for the allocation. And Prabhupada continues to refer to Shvetashvatara Upanishad and Mundaka Upanishad in this shlokas purport also, where Prabhupada says that the soul and super soul are like two birds sitting on the branch of a tree, where one bird is busy eating the fruits, the other bird is simply watching. So these two are compared to, these two birds are Krishna and Arjuna. The witness bird is Krishna, the fruit-eating bird is Arjuna. Or in other words, the witness bird is Paramatma, the fruit-eating bird is Atma. So we must also know that Paramatma is witness for everything that we do. So when we speak of desire and when we speak of deeds, we should know that Paramatma plays a very key role because he is a witness. And this witness, you cannot buy this witness. Correct? In our Indian judiciary, you can buy witnesses if you have money. But this witness cannot be bought. This witness is somebody you cannot buy. He is always watching everything that we do. So he is witness. But we must also understand that what it says in the shloka is that although two birds look like similar, meaning in quality, the super soul, Paramatma, and the Jivatma are same, but one always remains the master and the other one the subjugated. One's position is always subordinate, the other's position is always superior. So that is the Paramatma and the Jivatma. Paramatma always remains superior and Jivatma always remains under the control of the Paramatma in a subordinate position. And to become free from lamentations, this Jivatma must turn towards Paramatma. And that is what Arjuna is epitomizing through this discussion in Bhagavad Gita, that he is under lamentation. He is under a lot of stress. He is under a lot of anxiety that he has to kill and what will happen in the future, everything. So what has he done? He has turned to Krishna. You see? So that he gets free from all anxieties. And Prabhupada concludes by saying that this verse helps Arjuna to overcome this lamentation and material compassion, because now he understands that killing of Bhishma and Drona in a righteous fight is better, because they will also attain Veera Mrityu, as we call it. They will get also Vasamsi Jirnani Yatha Vihaya. They will get Navani Grihnati Naroparani. They will get new clothes, they will get new bodies. And because they are attaining Veera Mrityu, that means they are laying down their lives in an honorable fight, they will get definitely promotion, and they will also get cleansed of all their sinful activities. So these are all, now Arjuna is getting some solace that from Krishna, that with this understanding, O Arjuna, you can very confidently wage war, and you can kill Bhishma and Drona, and that will actually help them to get better bodies. So this is how verse 22 gets concluded. Hare Krishna, Bhagavad Gita Grantharaj ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Okay, I have questions in the chat box, so I will go to them first. We are all Anu Atmas. And is that we are all Anu Atma always, or one soul goes back to God and it becomes Vibhu Atma, and when there is fall down again, we are put into a condition which makes us forgetful? No. That is already clarified by Krishna in the beginning of his instructions of Natvevaham Jato Nasam Natvam Neme Janadhipa Nachaiva Nabhavishyama Sarve Vayam Ataparam. We will all be there with the same individuality, Krishna says. That means even when the Jivatma goes back to Krishna, he will continue to serve in a subordinate position. Okay? It is not like every Jivatma will grow and become Paramatma. That understanding is wrong. And then again, if I fall down, then again I will, diminish and become Anuatma. Doesn't happen like that. Atma by nature, we will see in the coming verses also that Atma by nature does not change. So all jivas, our position as subordinate doesn't change. Nityo nityanam chetanas chetananam eho eko bahunam savidhatati kaman. That means there is one nitya and nityana, unlimited nityas. Chetanas chetananam, one chetanaha, that is one conscious person, and all other unlimited conscious person. Eko bahuna, that one eka, that one will provide everybody's desires, will provide everybody's requirements. What does that mean? That one, that eko, is taking care of this bahuna. So this bahuna cannot ever reach the position of this eka. Okay? So it is not that because we fell down, we became small. Okay? So that is answer to the first question. Second question. The fighting between countries and the killing, whether all the dead men will get next body in other planets, because this war is not a Dharma Yuddha. Yes, absolutely. So this will continue based on their karmic reactions only, because there is no dharma to be established in a modern day war. There is no dharma to be established in the modern day war, because it is my view of dharma, or it is my view of a certain boundary, or it is my view of a certain whatever it may be, that the other man does not share my view. So then I fight with the other man and I kill him. And By my own laws, I make it okay. But that need not be okay for Krishna. For myself, it may be okay, but for Krishna, it is not okay because dharmam tu sakshat bhagavat pranitam. Dharma is enunciated directly by the Supreme Lord. And unless you have that authority from the Supreme Lord as his representative, then you cannot. So, whoever dies killing people in a war will get his karmic reactions, whatever may be. Okay. I have another question. What will happen to the Atma when heart is transplanted? Nothing happens to the Atma because we must know that Atma, when we say, it is not some kind of gross manifestation. It is very, very subtle. That is why the size of Atma, when we speak about it, we will say that it is 1,000 the tip of the, of a strand of hair. It is on the tip, it is 1,000. The size means it is practically impossible to see. Okay. And that is also why the scientists are saying there is no soul. Okay. And the heart is something that pumps blood and things like that. So it is your body, as I said, is yantra. So sometimes it is a major repair, and if the repair is successful, the Atma continues to stay in that body. If the repair fails, then Atma will leave. That's all. So you don't have to worry too much about it. When the heart is transplanted, does the dead man come into the living man? No. That man is gone. Okay. So that is how it is. Does the soul carry any subtle attribute from this body? See, Atma is carrying all the vasanas that it gets during a particular birth. I stay in this body, and all that I am collecting during this time is what? My karma I take with me. And karma means what? Karma is driven by vasanas. Vasana means propensity to do things. So if I am having a certain type of vasana that I'll carry from this body to the next, to the next, to the next. That is why suddenly when we start spiritual life, we find that there are so many things that we are unable to do, unable to follow, unable to execute, unable to, put in place, is because these vasanas are there for millions of births together. So, 1 week of chanting, 1 year of chanting and all will not make that impact. That is because through so many births, we have carried so many of the vasanas. So what do we expect? So we carry those attributes or those vasanas from one body to the other. Okay, next. The soldiers sacrifice their life to protect the life of citizens. Will they get punya and entry to the higher planetary systems? As I said, if they have done enough punya to go to a higher planetary system, they will go. If they have done enough punya, they will go. If they have not done enough punya, they could remain in the material world to the bhulokas or the lower lokas. Again, as I said, because there is no actual dharmic authorization for these wars. But within their hearts, they are convinced that, they are doing something to protect somebody. At the same time, you will find that the other man who is standing with the gun on the opposite side, he is also thinking the same thing. He thinks, I am protecting the people standing behind me. And I am thinking that I am protecting the people standing behind me. So that is why I said, whatever is the karmic reactions that they are carrying, they will get things according to that. Okay. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Is there any other question?